Well, hello people, and welcome to part 40 of Illium, our modded CS1 build. I hope you're having a wonderful day. The beautiful farming town of Gateshead settled in very nicely just off of the highway in the way into France this last episode to help us develop our first bit of farming industry in the city. And today you could say we're probably doing something the total opposite of that. It's time for Illium to receive a sports track that is going to be positioned very prominently in the waterfront bay on the opposite side of the river from the regional airport, with incredible views across to the northern shores. This should be one of the most amazing builds in the city, especially at night time, with a live Formula 1 race racing in the shadow of the skyline and airport of Illium. That should be quite a special build indeed. Welcome to Illium, everyone. A happy Monday to you all. As we spend more time with the race day DLC, I'm figuring out how I actually like to build these things. They're almost in line with airports, and what I mean by that is the method and the way in which we build them. I think, you know, when we put an airport down, we have to sit and think about the biggest things first, in that instance being the runway, of course, and then we map the taxiways off the runway, and then we know where the terminals will go. There's a process to building these more impressive bits of city infrastructure, I think. And the race day applies. So we're going to come into it, and if you're missing the race day DLC, check out Instant Gaming. If it's in stock in your region, you can get it for a wonderful price. Others help directly support the channel. So I want to place the race HQ first. Now, I'm not going to use this as the track entrance, if you like. This is going to be essentially the team's entrance and the media's entrance into the circuit. So in terms of where I want this to go, I know I'm going to want kind of a quite impressive main straight down here. Thinking kind of like Hockenheim kind of straight. So I'm going to bring in a road. So I'm purposely placing this way. Now don't worry about road connections here, we'll worry about that after the fact. But I'm going to place the track this side, which of course gives me my starting straight piece over here, doesn't it? I'm going to reverse the direction of the circuit here. But critically I want the pit lane to be on the inside of the circuit. Okay, which obviously begs the question, well, Egg, how are we going to cross the access roads of these over the track? We will tunnel it and blend it in with internal track infrastructure, essentially, okay? This is the plan here anyway. But beyond that, with the race HQ placed, we can now begin to place those roads ourselves. We'll come into our main track. Now I'll come back and embellish with the curb roads once we have the circuit in. We're going to form the main straight. Again, I think the sight lines are so important to factor in here, right? We're going to have probably some nighttime races today, I imagine. These are going to come down to that view. I'll probably end up removing all the trees, to be fair, just so the view is completely exposed. But case in point, right? So that's a bit of the track I really want to shine here. So make sure I don't want to block that with grandstands. I'll make sure I save quite a lot of room in the middle, not only for visitor and attractions and whatnot, but for making sure we also save room for the grandstands too. Just carry on like this until I'm happy with the shape and size of the circuit. Again, Google Earth is a great reference point here if you find yourself a little uninspired for racetrack circuitry. So I'm happy with the shape of this here. Current track length is set at 4.6 basically kilometers. Coming now to the next stage of how I like to build these things. With that in, we will go ahead and grab our pit garages. I'm going to place these continually from the edge main race HQ here. I'm placing these first because I want to do some detailing behind these with trailers and general behind racetrack team admin specifically. But then also develop an access area that will go into essentially, you know, kind of VIP tickets, pit lane access, etc. Which will then take us into the main visitors area, which allows us to kind of almost build the racetrack from the inside out to make sure we save enough room for everything we want to do here. Cool. So I'm going to put down quite a lot of pit garages, because I mean a lot of the detailing in these places is just a ton of trailers, basically. They're all trailers, so that'll be a lot of our detailing today. Now, of course, we want to use airport apron. You can also surface paint this if you want, but I'm going to want some specific placements of this. I'm going to bring the road away a little bit because I do want to open it up. So that node there is the edge of the building. So I'm going to mark that off and probably bring it down this way. And probably use industrial road. I might even go for the wider one here, the 4-lane variant. And I'm just sending these down as general frames right now, or anything else. So this is all, I guess, for lack of a better phrase, in more industrial access here. Commercial access for teams, for engineers, for circuit staff, whoever is involved in the running of the facility like this. It's kind of, this is where they're coming to work, you know? And this I'm just going to disguise as a tunnel. Comes underground. Let's just go for -7. And I'll blend this into the infrastructure of the whole circuit, essentially. I'm going to bring this up alongside the rail. To look something like that. And I'm actually just going to change that segment to tunnel. There we go. And any horrible little gradients like that will be sorted out in a second. Great. So that'll give us access for the actual race circuit people, which means we need to have a look at access for the match day going people and decide how they actually come and enjoy the circuit over here. So I want to have some assets positioned within this space here. So to make sure we have the largest one in first, I'm going to grab a pedestrian road, which again I think race day and plazas and promenades partner extremely well with each other. And I'm probably going to go for sandstone here. I'm going to place a little stretch of road and a particular unique building. I'm actually after the London Eye here. And I think really the race day tracks, especially the internal visitor areas if you like, are a great excuse to use some of the more obnoxious unique buildings, of which I think the London Eye absolutely qualifies for. Although it does work very easily on a waterfront as well. Which this is, essentially. So you can totally see how this is going to work, right? I think what we will do either here is grab all of this, spin it around, and bring the London Eye here, just so it's kind of positioned within the apex of this first corner here. I'm going to open up the naming of the circuit as well to the comments, so let me know what you would like to call this circuit. Okay, so you can totally envision, again, I'm obsessed with today's nighttime view because I think that's really where the build will shine. You can totally imagine tourists here on the Ferris wheel, attending the race day for extortionate prices. And then this just looks out over the whole visitor centre, which doesn't exist yet. But I think you can agree is a really nice accompaniment for the circuit, isn't it? Just in general, I think it's very, very cool, very impressive. Good partner in that one. There's probably some other unique buildings as well, possibly not considering. You can maybe do the Eiffel Tower. That wouldn't be a horrific choice, but it's up to you if you want to go down that route, of course. But yeah, there's probably others, definitely from a whole bunch of the content creator packs. Probably something from Africa will work quite nicely in here. Yeah, so endless possibilities to be enjoyed with the race day. There's a lot of different vibes you can take them in. With this, we will now begin to map out our pedestrianisation. Lots of landscaping, very grandiose here, particularly fancy. Almost kind of flamboyant, I think, to an extent. This will come down. This will form the hierarchical system of pedestrian access. We can also begin to see now just where our grandstands are going to start plopping in here. So if we draw them in centered, we can add with anarchy, so it's a lot easier to use. I actually wonder if they will respond to a pedestrian road as a connection. I've never checked that before. Let's have a little bit of science together, shall we? Ah, interestingly do. Okay, I didn't know that. They will actually respond to a pedestrian pathway as connection. Which actually kind of changes my plans with that there. I'm going to do a little bit of terrain manipulation here too. All these nodes are going to come up to the same height as the buildings. I mean, we do have slight layers. I don't want to terraform massively if I can help it. I'll try to keep it natural if I can. But yeah, I was planning to have a lot more pathways connecting those in, but if they work with pedestrian roads, I'm not going to complain. Let's come in here and we will come straight down like that. Perfect. Tree, again, I think if flamboyance is the direction of the day, any of the palm variants are going to be at home here. What's a California palm, I think, in particular. So how do these guys get in? That's the next question. The obvious choice is for a pedestrian pathway bridge. Now, before everyone arrives, I'm going to consider some grandstands. Just thinking how I want the edge of the track to sit against the road, because I think that's going to be quite an important visual. Almost people kind of walking into the circuit can hear the buzz of the race day, etc. Definitely some alignment to be had here. So I think for that, do I want to have stands here? Let's have a little check of that, see what we feel. Can maybe go for some medium. They're all the same depth, aren't they? Yeah, pretty much. So we had a couple of mediums. I almost think this pedestrian road that's going to connect these in will be the one that actually just connects into the circuit itself. I want to be snapped to a guideline here. And because I want to be perfectly 90 degrees behind these stands. No, I'm not sure I do want them actually engaging here. I think I'm going to keep most of the visitor stuff. We'll do some stuff out this way for them. But otherwise, I think we'll keep this mainly just an entrance sort of vibe. So same idea, to reform how I want people to actually enter in. I'm going to come off the road, and then I'm going to do a road here. Now, I'm almost going to repurpose one of the unique buildings here. So I'm going to grab unique building from plazas and promenades, if I can find it. This one here. The pedestrian street market hall. And will you not connect to the edge? Do you need a T-junction? Is that what's up with you? Possibly. Yeah, there we go. So I want that one there. Now, I'm going to put this in here as if it's a sort of entrance for the circuit, okay? Now what I want directly next door to this, I might even just move all this back a little bit because I'm going to want to curve this entrance road in. And then next door to this, I want a toll booth. We want the two-way toll booth, yep. And this will almost line up next door to this, so as pedestrians are coming in and, you know, race day hype is building, you're really at the same height there, are you? Let's just have a look at the terrain around here. Some strange things are starting to happen. Let's just sort ourselves out a little bit. We will want to use these layers over here for getting under the rail, so I'll bear that in mind. We should also find a car parking spot for them too, maybe down here. And we can have some major car parking facility. And it's like they take the route here to come back in. But the general principle being that as people are passing into the circuit, they can see trucks coming in, you know, branded team vans, perhaps some of their favourite drivers in the windows of a tinted, through the windows of a tinted car, etc. Come down here. Be happy with that. And then these will be our primary connections into the race day circuit. Right, just so happens we can get some racetrack frontage roads here as people drive into the circuit, if you like, for visitor car parking. So I might match that. Yeah, I think that'll be quite an interesting design of the circuit once it's in. Of course, I'll thoroughly safety fence all of this off. So I've been building this here, but I think I actually have a change of heart. I think I want to have the entrance here and put the car parking here next to the entrance for the teams. possibly essentially have our car parking aligned in this instance here. Because I think it's how I want to do that. So I'll do this off camera, but essentially I'm just going to move this over there and put this over here. So I think here for the entrance, I might actually send the track under the circuit. And likely use some of the retaining walls, I think, to hide some of the jank that might come from that. Now, do we have the room for a wide boy? I wonder. Not set to elevation there. Pretty much just about the right amount of room, really. And then with all this, we might have to do some quirky retaining wall stuff here. And for all the nodes of this bit of this track here, let's bring them down to there. And then pull down. Just so we can roughly... something like that, I guess. Yeah, I think that's what I'm happy with. Let's go ahead and get the retaining walls in. Of course, we'll use something from the content creator pack. And here we'll just snap into grid. We'll just run it right alongside. Basically mirrored perfectly. Might even bring this one a little bit closer. And then actually use that to hide the really harsh dip that will appear alongside the grandstand. Something like that, basically. And of course, we do need to just ensure, so what we'll do here, let's use the marquee picker tool. Nodes of this are below the track. There you go, let's get it all below and then set it to the height of this middle one here. Touch further down. Perfect. Also just going to move this one in as well to match the other side. This should be fine. And we don't want these to be walkable, of course, because then people are going to be walking, like you'll just see their heads moving across the track. Which might break a little bit of immersion if we do that. So from this area, we can branch off with other pedestrian roads, most of which are going to be pretty heavily tree-lined. And from here we can include access to other grandstands. Probably not down here, starting to get a little bit tight for space there. Yeah, so it'll look something like this, essentially. I think is what I'm going to think for the entrance. I think that's a better solution than having it come over this way. I think it would just be a bit nicer if it's all designed around this kind of big walkable corridor into the pedestrian space behind here. Sweet. So we can see the form coming together here. There's some other things I also want to include in this as well. For which I might have a look at where we can put this, maybe... Yeah, I'm just thinking where I want to put this. I would like a kind of media broadcast area for the circuit. I guess I can make it also access into the pedestrian area as well, the visitor space. Not like it has to be separated, I suppose. But there's a couple of assets I want to include from this, from the high-tech pack. First of all, the television station. And then secondary, the media broadcast building from the Concerts DLC. Which I believe the console doesn't have, which is always so strange to me that they just decided, yeah. Console, you're not having this, actually? Is that okay? I guess you guys just don't get to play with it then. So I'll bring this up. I think there's definitely... I think the glass and the cladding will be a bit of a harsh clash for a fuse, but I'll try it. Yeah, it's actually not too bad. I think I can get away with that. I even wouldn't mind a secondary antenna. Might also work here. Let's explore that. It'll be under our fire. Yeah, this can we get this in sensibly without it looking odd? I mean, would you even have a radar? Nah, it looks a little odd, doesn't it? Yeah, it really interrupts the sight line of the London Eye, doesn't it? So no to that one. Sweet. So I mean, that's essentially my media broadcast facility function here, right? And this will really blend in quite nicely with everything going on behind here. Which we'll use that as a bit of a... I guess a bit of a marker. So I might have here again. You imagine this sort of stuff is sort of via expensive ticket only. If you want to mess about with all the media people, you can see Martin Brundle down here preparing for the grid walk. That sort of thing. So to help reinforce that vibe, I'm going to bring a pedestrian pathway through. on a very obvious trajectory. What I mean by that is it kind of comes angular out and away. Oh, it's actually on the node of the other one, isn't it? It's quite annoying. It's fine. Just do that. And then bring that back in. And then from this, come into our part life menu, and there's a very particular prop I want to use here. This one from the Campus DLC, a crowd control barrier. We're going to put this on a fence fill. And then we're going to have this come pretty much down here. Now you can snake and L-shape this as much as you like. For me personally, I'm just going to go with this one here. Any weird little duplicate props we can fix, such as those. We don't want our little floating props here, of course. And then at the entrance here, we can also grab a little kiosk. You know, perhaps there's someone here checking your various tickets. You could also bring in, I guess, some of the security barriers here. I guess if we search for barrier, it'll give it us, I think. Yeah, this one. It's a little bit vehicle-y, but I totally wouldn't mind it just being used for pedestrians. You know, so it's like gated access. And behind the pit lane. And again, to help reinforce that vibe. Could even come in some race day fence there. I'm just going to actually move this along. So you can see what I'm trying to do here, that the point I'm trying to reinforce is I'm isolating the media and sort of team areas away from the general public, essentially. Where that fence goes up to on the pathway, again, that new fence on road feature's coming in very handy, isn't it? I'll use as an excuse to end that pit area, I think. So I think it'll be a lot of fun to see all these little details form around the circuit here, isn't it? That looks really cute, that. I'm a big fan of that. Although, major earthquake devastates southern region is not good news. Is that a Thessia? Thessia is in the southern region of the Teregian continent. Jeepers. It's either Thessia or Ilos. They're the two most southern cities. Godspeed, everyone. Ilos has been hit by a major earthquake. Terrible scenes. To continue giving the actual visitors who don't have media passes something to do, let's go into our parks, and I think I can picture a lot of the big renewed history stuff here. Some of the things we've not had chance to use yet. Maybe a little bit of this. And ooh, I wonder if I can get away with one of the old factory buildings here. Almost leaning into the vibe, as you know, is the so I might put these two side by side. And it gives a bit more justification for these brick buildings being here. Yeah, as if they are maybe the very ancient remnants of an old industrial wharf that used to be here. And it's been gentrified very much in the vein of what we did over here. And then you've got your functional gentrification here. And then what has actually been converted this way. And this is also another really good place for more unique buildings to shine. The Grand Library probably work quite nicely in here. You're clearly repurposing it away from actually being a library at that point, if you're going to have it in a place like this, but still, it would also be a good shout. We also want to place some more grandstands in here as well before we start filling too much space up. I'm going to mirror pit lanes with main straight grandstand, of course. Going for larger options. I think we'll do 3 large, and then we'll downgrade into 2 medium either side of those. Super. And then I'll basically just grab all of these to be the same height. And then we'll align it with the start line there. So that gives us a really impressive main stand actually, doesn't it? You could probably even go for 2 small so that they are the same height, so it won't really have the same kind of diminishing effect on it. That's okay though, we can make do with that. So in terms of access for these, I'm just going to use, I think, regular pathway for this instance. So with this being the 90-degree angle, we can come behind here. I think I'm going to keep this pathway going as just a little thin isolated walk around the external circuit if anyone wants to to enjoy some shores. Maybe get some more appropriate visitor lake detailing here. Bit of a viewpoint, of course. So, you know, you can go for a stroll around the edge of the track if you want. If you don't want to, you know, deal with the noise and the fanfare of the internal visitor centre. Bit of a stroll around the lake edge. I think would be very welcome. And we can also plug any external track grandstands into this as well, if we want to do that. But I think I'm going to keep most of them internal, because I really want a lot of the pedestrian traffic to be kind of buzzing around all this innards of the track, right? Where the wheel is, the race teams are, all the detailing, etc. So that's really what I want to do with the circuit. For connection, I'm going to downgrade this to regular pedestrian. I'll have people walk up to the circuit from the car parking. The entrance is going to look quite unsymmetrical, I think, just until we get some detailing in it. Maybe some keys here as well. This will be a bit of a difficult area of the circuit to work on here, I think. Definitely want to detail in time-lapse. Pedestrian area is also required, of course, which is a key part of the build. And I think I'd love to break this down into a variety of service points that we have here. So which one's that? That's just the large cargo. And we'll paint out the pedestrian area, because that's what everyone wants. So all of this can be pedestrian. I'm placing them here because I want it factored into the delivery area. Well, it's not delivery really, is it? Just the team area, I guess, right? You can totally get away with this being an expansion of the race HQ, can't you? Right, the teams are using this building. In fact, it even kind of looks like the team garages, doesn't it? Almost media-esque as well, actually. Again, just another example of how well the plazas and promenade stuff goes with the race thing. And then I'm going to have a garbage service point next door to this. I'm going to fuse it onto the side. Yeah, fantastic. I'll have that there. And that now gives us full reign to map out everything we want with Airport Apron. Which is going to look a little something like that, I think. Very nice. And then over here, once we're happy, we can use the vehicle and props mod, which I'm using. That gives you basically all the vehicles in the game as proppable plots, including all the transit vehicles too. But specifically, I'm after the all-truck trailer props. And to draw these on a spacing of 4 apart. And then we want to draw left to right, basically. So lots of this, right? Lots of parked truck in orbit of these shipping containers will also work very nicely. Imagine office zoning would also go in here pretty tastily as well. We can definitely explore that. As would some of the industrial stuff, although I'd probably stick more toward the more modern industrial evolution side of things as opposed to this, you know. So even if we went into this sort of distribution vibe here, and we could rotate this. Maybe some heavy building spawn points work here today. Well, it's even got Williams on it, which is the actual name of a racing team, which is really handy. If we're going to do mad rotation like this, we have to take care of the build spawn point, drag them back to a road, which is a very important element if you're going to start messing about with buildings like this. And you can just get the idea. And of course, because these are functional industry, like people are going to be arriving here, it's going to make this yard, this little paddock, feel alive, isn't it? I think. And there's a ton of different things you can do with this. I also just found out we can use the surface painter as well to paint in all this stuff here, like gravel traps on the chicane corners, which is a lot of fun. It's pretty much aligned with the surface there, with the grid of the surface painter. Over here, we are going to have to actually open up something beyond the 25 tiles, because I want this extra tile over here. For placing in an interchange, which I think one of Teddy's is probably going to do. And we could do the trumpet system interchange here. So I'm going to go for the trumpet here. We've also got some work to do with the train line now as well, which is coming down here and already elevates either side. So it's going to make sense to bring that over the interchange now. Which you will have as a station over here as well. Don't worry about that. Let's also hook our highways in here too. And then over here, we will grab our train line without placing an airport apron on the bottom of the seat. And then I'll use... Actually, would network multi-tool work over this distance? We are pretty much clearing the road there, which is fine. I'll have to bring it up for the interchange. I'm just going to do that. And then to actually get this in, let's decide on the station first. I think because of the presence of the interchange now here, we're going to want to have an elevated station. Now, we did also discuss the possibility of metro, but I think train is probably the most appropriate choice here, isn't it? It would involve bringing the metro line out from the airport here alongside the terminal, and then basically parallel to run with the train line. Which feels a little redundant when the train line's already doing this pretty vast distance. So yeah, I think we will just keep it train. And we'll have these guys enter here somewhere. So, elevated train station. We have a few options available. I think we're going to do the large elevated Japanese station here as access into this bit of the city. So I'm just going to line it up over the tracks here, just so I know roughly where I want it. You can actually align the cantina, isn't it, perfectly too? And then we can use our force to elevation upgrades all the way through. It is significantly easier, it has to be said, to install a rail line with multi-tool and anarchy. Oh my god. You'd have to do so much fighting in vanilla to get that to sit happy. I suppose it makes sense for it to embank a little bit here. Yeah, we'll do that, I think. We've also got the possibility here to actually feed the train to Francis now, don't we? Which we probably should do, because it'll make it very busy. So I think I'm actually going to connect this in on the other side of the river to create a parallel mode here. So from here to here. And then just bump it away a touch. We'll also force that into bridge segment as well. And then over here, let's say just as the turn begins on this track, we'll do a little method here, something like that. And then we'll just do a graded curve between this network and that one, which will look something like that. And then again, just sweep through with elevation upgrades. Pretty much all of that. If we were to do a significantly more gradual sloping, let's say from the actual end of that to this one, we can go down to 2.2%, which I think I'm happy with. The jank here is because this is in a locked tile, which I might as well just open, to be fair. It's literally right on the precipice there, isn't it? Wonderful. This is mostly a 25 tile build, this one. We have gone a little bit into the 81 tile radiuses. But that goes to 2.2% gradient as it whips under the interchange, where it might need a touch of maneuvering with some of these nodes here. Just so it's not as close, which will slightly affect the gradient. But also we have more room to even stretch it out further if we wanted to. Allowing that to connect back into there, probably. Sweet. Which gives us kind of a very important moment, everyone, because we can now, for the first time ever, send the Francis train out on its merry way, which must be plugged in to... Oh wait, we already have one. Yeah, so yeah. But this, everyone, is now going to go to Francis. Because it currently has nowhere else to go. Yeah, look at that. Isn't that amazing? Wait, didn't I changed this rail, didn't I? What on earth is it changed back? Did I not say... I definitely did that, didn't I? I'm sure I did, because we were having issues here in an episode. This train will now stop here. Keeping the internal bypass clear for intercity trains to carry on, because this is an intercity line. And then, of course, the platform, we just removed it off. So we will have a first-person tour of this one day. Just to recap where this is running, it is now finally possible, after 40 episodes of Illium, to get from the central downtown transit hub here. I mean, hopefully we'll see some people actually use it today. I imagine we will. This will probably be the busiest train line in the city, because it's passing through so much density. And this is all very exciting though, isn't it, my word? And we need to think about a ferry stop for the circuit as well, don't we? We do need to do some ferry upgrades. I also wanted it to bring it to the airport as well. I think actually what we might do in that regard is when we come to start developing these areas, we'll have a bit of a ferry overhaul. Because that's probably a whole other project in itself to start ferrying this whole bay area up here. And then decide if we're going to send it down here as well. Yeah, that'll be a separate episode, I think. It's a lot more infrastructure to it to start setting up just yet. Yeah, so this train line now, it goes all the way through downtown, cuts through the massive rail trench that comes in through the city. Stops here at the big entertainment district. I really think we probably should put an airport train station in, don't we? Or I could split a monorail blade off and send that to the circuit as well. I feel like a connection direct from ferry to circuit would be quite nice. That's why I was considering the metro, but I think it's a massive waste of nodes, if anything, to bring that over. Yeah, anyway, then the train arrives at the circuit, which currently has no road connection. We'll come up with something hopefully quite fancy for this station to sit on. We'll do that for right now. Yeah, they can now arrive to the currently unnamed circuit. Again, don't forget to get your name suggestions down below for that. Circuit then passes over the highway, or the train, sorry. Hopefully, see, it begins its gradient descent against its parallel bridge network. Which is actually a really interesting design piece there, isn't it? How it kind of creates that shape there. One ascending, one heading off the other way. We are clearing the bridges just about. It is a tight squeeze, that though. And then this carries on through all this undeveloped space, which all has builds to come down here. Before it splits into a rail yard. And then comes into the station, where indeed it does get stuck again. So, I will fix this. Okay, that's resolved. I ended up having to delete the entire station. Again, that's the downside of messing with network multi-tool sometimes when you're using unlock segments. Sometimes the AI just hates what you do. It doesn't happen with everything, but it definitely is possible. It's not the first time it's happened. I've done things like that in ILOS and Thessia before. Messing about with network multi-tool. Quite a powerful mod, so be careful with it. But our trains are flowing here now. We'll come back and check on these at the end of the detailing time-lapse and see how busy they are at Francis, the central station, and over here as well. You can also just see where I want to grade this to the apex of the bridge on the highway. We do 0.5. That grades it pretty well for me there, doesn't it? Actually brings it over there. Yeah, okay. So that's done. So just a pillar. I might even make this high-speed rail, actually. Yeah, I think I will upgrade this to be high-speed rail. A bit more modern. Coming across the bay, isn't it? Rather than the older style rail line. I'll keep the bridge segments, but change all this. There we go. Sweet. That's that done. And then in terms of an actual entrance for the circuit, we will need to establish some brief new road hierarchy. I'm going to force these guys into elevated segments. And then if you remember earlier on in the episode, which is probably quite a long episode today, everyone, my apologies. I'm going to eat up quite a lot of your Monday today, if you don't mind. Thank you very much. Yeah, just push this through. A bit of software to blend it back into natural topography. And then I'll bring in a basic connection. In terms of where you're going to go, I actually think the 3-point roundabout is going to be a really wonderful connection to have here. Again, not really sure what else lies over this bit of the map just yet. We do have quite a bit of room to play with over here. So also some thoughts and suggestions in the comments for what lies near the racetrack. No idea what we're going to put here. But right now with this, I'm going to establish that initial arterial road, again, which will have things built upon it in X amount of episodes time. And then just grab these 3-lane one-way roads and feed them in a little bit like this, I think. Quite a nice little way to merge off the highway, this actually, what we put together there. Quite happy with that. I'm going to downgrade the full roundabout into these roads as well. I don't really want highway roads in the middle of the suburb here. So now everyone has connectivity. No, they don't. There's one, there's one backwards road, which finally leaves everyone with a connection, which I think we can go ahead now into a detour in time-lapse. Add more grandstands on the interior of the circuit alongside embellishing all of these spaces with props. Bring in more entertainment, tables and chairs, bars, souvenir shops, and everything else you might expect to find on the innards of a race circuit. Alongside expanded media detailing, which is always going to be a lot of fun. And then everything else that involves this pretty massive build, which sits so nicely now, I think, if we want to have a quick, cheeky nighttime tease. Yeah, this is going to look so cool in the bay here, isn't it? Awesome. But either way, everyone, grab yourself some snacks and we'll be right back with detailing time-lapse. let's take a D10 review around Illium's pretty elaborate and fairly massive race circuit here. At the station, well, first of all, check out the trains. I'm sure we have many of you curious. 339 at the station one. Over in Francis, it is now 684 through here. Holy smokes. And then downtown, maybe it hasn't ticked over yet. It's 459 through this one, which I would have expected a bit more, given the fact there's this internal line, the intercity trains, which are very busy. And then also the metro here as well, so maybe we'll catch that ticking over. 459, oh, there you go, 605. So, okay, yeah, it's climbing, isn't it? Yeah. So we're really seeing the long distance train transit come into effect in Illium now. And we'll have that continue the other way. You guys said a couple episodes ago for Egg, don't continue the metro, instead continue the rail this way, with the track present here. So we'll likely bring that off around this way and send this to become airport train. So we will do that just while we're talking about long distance train infrastructure here. Down at the front, upgraded some road symmetries here with some non-omnidirectional ramps coming down off of the highway here for people who just want to exit near the circuit, rather than going through these buildings or these roads over here. And we'll continue to upgrade these. Again, no real concrete plans for what's going to go on out here, so feel free to get that down in the comments as well today. Outside the front of the train station, it's lots of Railroad of Japan themed detailing with the planters, kiosks, and the plazas at the same time as well. Which is very tasty. Does a simple job here. Some advertising billboards out the front too. And yeah, it's really busy. Very nice indeed. So the race day DLC tracks are really big tourist draws, and I'm pretty happy with the transit option we've managed to prepare them out here as well. It's nice to finally see this rail running all the way to Francis. At the front of the station near the car parking, there's toilets, commercial of many different shapes and sizes. Maybe you want to grab a cranburger and before you head into the circuit. The space over here I'm just going to leave probably for a live stream. It's kind of an awkward little coastal number. So I'm not sure what we're going to put through here just yet. Maybe we'll send a road down it and feed it under the highway into the hills, maybe. Again, no real concrete plans. Ideas are always welcome. As we walk into the circuit, we'll see many different bits of advertising. Using the new billboards that, of course, came with the race day update. With double fence lining between track and circuit as well. You'll see the fences here. And then this side as well. The fence to road upgrade tool has saved us an absolute ton of nodes today. As we approach the outer lying pathway, I've drawn in a countryside picnic area here as a bit of an entranceway with some signage, just to say, you know, this is the edge of track coastal pathway. If you're interested in taking it, you can do that. Again, double fence barriers here between the gravel runoff track and the main entrance. I'll put an event on during the cinematics today so you can see the cars flowing around. Through the main entrance again, I thought this was a really nice idea to use as you know, just that sort of where you get your ticket or where you scan your ticket at an actual entrance booth. Essentially like a massive park life gate is how I'm thinking of repurposing this here, right? Essentially. So I really like it. Down here, there's plazas at the foot of the grandstands, people heading in to view the races, of course. Over here. Great stuff. Really nice. And then we've also got a helicopter medical depot over here as well. With some expanded concrete detailing around it that takes you, and well, ambulances to give them track access, of course, God forbid, should there be an accident. Then there is a medical helicopter facility kind of based in the middle of the track. So the ambulances can get around and service them, bring them back in, and then fly them, you know, off circuit basically. It's the idea behind placing this here. The gravel traps run in different shapes and sizes all around the edge of the circuit. You can see them in multiple different locations. And the circuit itself is quite fun. Like, it's by no means flat. You can see the little kind of undulations and peaks and rises in the terrain here as the track moves around. And I've tried my best. Again, I am no motorhead by any means, so I've tried my best to use the barriers and the curbs where I felt them most appropriate. So, racing police, I am sorry if I didn't get it 100% right. More billboards over here as well. You can totally imagine taking in the views from the outside of the track here. Back toward the main entrance, we'll head under the bridge, which again is the track bridge, which looks so cool on a match day when you can see the active races passing over all the pedestrians here. I really love the entrance into this circuit, particularly, just so cool. Actually, do we have a race on now? There's people in the stands. Oh yes, there is. Yeah, there's currently a Formula race on. Okay, perfect. There we go. Just so happened to already have an event. So the Illium Grand Prix is currently taking place, right? A bit of a preview as to what else lies within the circuit. Right, they're such cool builds, aren't they? I'm so glad they made this DLC. It's an awful lot of fun to play with. So here we go. These guys probably want some fencing as well. Didn't realise they were exposed. Yeah, but just don't crash on that bit. But you'll get a sense of it here, right? With coming across the bridge as you come in. Isn't that so much fun? Definitely one of the more interesting layers we've pieced together in Cities Skylines over the years to go with that one. So yeah, you know, they're driving around the little hairpin bends here. It's a lot of fun. Good. To watch the race day circuits forever. As we come in, we'll see the Dosan Center from Hearts of Korea, which we placed in the episode, with basically expanded tables, umbrellas, tables here, lots of food tents, you know, places to sit and enjoy the racing. If you didn't buy a ticket for the grandstand, you know, there's trackside seating here. Which then brings us into the big pedestrian hallway, which will take us down to smaller Ferris wheel. Now you can see multiple amusement park assets through here. I wanted to really make sure we boxed off the whole media and race day area this way, which has turned out really nicely. The inclusion of the larger service points are a massive compliment to any race day detail, I think. They're just, I don't know, yeah, they just go so nicely. I mentioned earlier, like race day and plazas and promenades really complement each other. So definitely shout out both of those DLCs if you don't have them. And I think they complement the pit garages very well, don't they? With some of our own trailer detailing through here too. Fences around, a little bit of zoned industry, of course. Floodlights facing into all these areas over here. Alongside some more trucks over here too. Before we come into our functional crowd control detailing, of course, which I really enjoy. A lot of fun over here. Likewise, I also discovered during this episode. Oh wait, he just walked down there. Oh no, did you just walk off the track, sir? Where did you come from? Oh, but yeah, there's a load of crowd control detailing down here. Which I imagine queues forming up to perhaps gain pit lane access. Which has all been zoned in here with the fencing to try and create that visual, which I think I'm pretty happy with. But yeah, it was a discovery that the pedestrian roads will connect to pit lanes in a node. So I thought, well, I'll make it kind of a purposeful pedestrian connection then, to show the fact that, you know, you can gain pit lane access down here. Which I think is a pretty neat little detail, right? You know, you can access getting all the media people down here. I'm really happy with all this through here. The Ferris wheel, or the roller coaster, is also present as well. Which brings us up to a back pathway going around, people walking across the track. Oh my god, what are you doing? What are you doing? That's so dangerous. Where are you going? He's walking over here, aren't you? That's quite interesting. Didn't realise they were doing that. That's okay though. Yes, around this side, opposite the medical depot or helicopter, we have some cars placed down. Of course, using the vehicles as props mod that we have in Illium. And then some gazebos from Renewed History, which I thought was a really nice way to just have some detailing down here. I really like how this turned out. almost like, you know, show cars. You can come and see the cars that are racing on the circuit, etc. Well, that's quite a lot of fun. And then the renewed history has paths anarchied through it. There's a little eating area just expanded out here as well, you know, perhaps a more prestigious bar, again, where you can enjoy the trackside racing here, as we see. Case in point, there we go. Meow, fantastic news. This then comes around onto some really nice fusing of shopping malls. There is a fusing here. We are losing some stairs, so fusing police might not be overly happy with this one. But you can see an example here of a grandma with her granddaughter and a small lion enjoying the views on this particular bend on the circuit there as well. And this repeats around, so some shopping, bars, cafes, just the general party race day lifestyle. There's more of those gazebos down here with bars and tents, or tables rather. Plazas and promenades, food courts are also present. Just a whole different mix of things and ideas really in this big kind of visitor centre in the middle of the circuit. And again, I think with all the grandstands around it, it does look so dramatic, doesn't it? Like it's such a impressive bit of city infrastructure, these race day circuits. Another plazas and promenades. Plaza with the London Eye, of course. And then a few sun lounges and umbrellas. Perhaps for people that want to sit and watch the cars go by, and then sit and enjoy the sun and the views to downtown Illium until the next lap comes around at least. With the area across the circuit, I've left this empty because I'm planning on an episode of a major ferry network design for this whole bay area. So probably this peninsula will become ferry stop, as will this one. The airport will also receive one, which I'll likely terraform out from this bay here. And then we'll do a few other ones as well, possibly down here. Onto this string of islands, where we'll have some more ferry infrastructure. So don't worry about this peninsula, I'm saving it for a dedicated ferry episode as we look to introduce a lot of water-based transport into this particular bit of the city. So the Formula 1 track will receive that at some point as well, in the not too distant future at least. Which pretty much finishes off the build. A pretty challenging one to do. These areas are always so big, but you can have a lot of fun with them. And there's always so many different ideas to run with. Yeah, I think we've managed to cover a few different ones. Just a bit of surface painter over here again as well, around the edge of the circuit. I've also fed this road to possibly take it under the highway, depending what sits around this waterfront. Again, a lot of this is all up in the air, but I can totally envision a lower network coming under here as perhaps some sort of back road access into the circuit car parking area. So that's where I envision that going. Again, to follow along with the coast and likely rejoin with these arterial systems as we begin to develop the road network in this bit of the map. Because, yeah, again, not sure what's over here yet, so things are very much subject to change. And then we'll just have a quick glance over last episodes. I know this episode's getting so long. I'm so sorry. Either got all your Monday. But yeah, a great head from last episode. Performing really nicely now. Got loads of people coming up and down this corporate system. You guys wanted to see some trams through here, actually. Then we got some people sat on that bus. Wonderful stuff. With all their little farmlands all tucked in here. Great stuff. We actually had a city showcase on that looked so similar to a lot of this. Like, we'd actually managed to build each other's builds from Emma's showcase. Quite funny, really. What's that? Yeah. Really nice, cute stuff. I'm happy with this. And then we'll have one last check of the downtown train station. See if we can cheese the numbers up a little bit. It's up to 817 now, so it's certainly climbing with the introduction of that commuter train. And once that whole route is built out, including all these areas here, and then the train line continues down, likely into these towns down here, and we'll 100% have a first-person tour of that train route through Illium, which will probably be one of the best train routes we've done, possibly. Illium is just home to so much kind of elaborate, insane transit. There's going to be a lot of like award-winning first-person tours in this city, I feel. As indeed we do continue to develop it. Thank you so much for making it well over an hour into episode 40 of this City Skyline series. I appreciate you all so much. An enormous shout out to the YouTube members and patrons that bankroll these videos, with a roll call to our Golden Egg patrons: Casino, Spartan Angel, Michael W, Wolfo, Ott, Phoenix MD, Blythe, Jamin, Great C, Bryce Johnson, Sean, Trevor Larson, and John Mittak. Thank you so much indeed for all of your incredible support. Your all secret blends of herbs and spices. If you want to get involved in that, links of course are down below in the video description. Otherwise, let me know what you think of this one. Pretty monstrous build, and I'm so happy with the position of it, and definitely hang around for those spectacular nighttime views, of course, across the bay to downtown Illium and its regional airport. Very exciting. Thoroughly enjoyed this one. I hope you did as well. Otherwise, I'll shut up and leave it there. And thank you all so much for watching. And as always, enjoy the rest of your day.